قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وسيد النبيين وخير الخلائق أجمعين أبو القاسم محمد المصطفى وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وسهل مخرجهم واهلك أعداءهم من الأولين والآخرين يا الله ما في غيرك يا كريم يا أرحم الراحمين. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Many people, not only from among the Shias of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, but also from the Ahlus Sunnah, often ask the following questions, which I'm sure you've heard many times before, and that is whether the Imams are better than the Prophets, or whether the rank of Imama is higher than that of prophethood or Nubuwah. To answer this question, we need firstly to define each term. A prophet or a Nabi is someone who sees the revelation in his dreams, while a messenger or a Rasul is someone who directly sees the angel. A Muhaddith is someone who hears the angel and feels the revelation in his heart. An Imam is someone who is in charge of the affairs, the ruler, you could say, and whose following and obedience is obligatory. A Wali al-Amr is someone who is the authority of the matter. A Wasi is someone who preserves and protects the religion after a prophet or a messenger. And we have the Wali. The difference between an Imam and a Wali is that the Imam is a ruler, while the Wali is responsible for the affairs of others. This is why the definition of wilaya is broader than that of imama. It isn't simply being a ruler, rather it literally means having guardianship and authority to manage and modify the affairs of others. These are the definitions of all the different terms. The following authentic narration which confirms this can be found in the first volume of Al-Kafi. I asked Abu Abdullah alayhi salam about the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a messenger, a prophet. What is a messenger and what is a prophet? The Imam said, a prophet is one who sees things in his dream and hears the voice but does not see the angel, while the messenger is one who hears the voice in his dreams and sees the angel. I then said, what is the position of the Imam? He replied, he hears the voice but does not see and observe the angel. Then he recited the following verse of the Holy Quran, Satan will try to tamper with the desires of every prophet or messenger or muhaddath. So now we ask the $1 million question. Is imama a better position than nubuwa and risala? We will quickly realize that this is an invalid question, because what does the term better mean here? Is it asking that a person who is an imam, is he better than all the prophets and messengers, for example? It doesn't make sense for us to judge or rank them because of their different roles. A prophet has a specific role which is different from that of a Rasul, which is different from that of an Imam, which is different from that of a Wasi, and so on and so forth. This is like me asking who's better, the Islamic judge or the person in charge of collecting the zakat or khums? Or who's better, a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or the trash collector? All of these, while being different jobs that perform different roles, are each very important for the society to work. We cannot come and say that one is better than the other because we still need the others. The role that a person has is not the same thing as his nearness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person is better in the eyes of Allah because of his nearness towards Him and how much he obeys Him, not because of the job he has. The one who is stronger and better in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the one who holds a higher rank. And that is why we, the Shia, say that Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, who isn't an Imam, nor a Prophet, nor a Rasul, nor a Wasi, but even though she's a Muhaddatha, we believe that she, and many of our scholars have said this, she is better than all of the Imams except for Amir al-Muminoon alayhi salam. And this belief isn't problematic at all. So, we see that the question in itself is wrong because it's asking if imama is better than nubuwa just because it's imama. And we don't say this. What we know, however, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give imama to anyone except if they reach a particular position. But that position isn't necessary to reach and be given nubuwah. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give imamah to anyone unless they have reached the rank of Ibrahim alayhi salam, who fulfilled certain trials. We read in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 124. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا قَالَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And recall when Ibrahim was tried by his Lord with certain words and he fulfilled them, he said, I am appointing you as an imam for the people. He said, and of my offspring, he said, my covenant does not include the unjust. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam received imamah after prophethood, after risala, and after fulfilling the trials. Even though imamah can be given to people who weren't prophets, this doesn't mean prophets or messengers can't become imams. There are even examples where prophets don't always need to become imams, as is the case with Nabi Musa and Nabi Harun alayhim as-salam. Nabi Harun alayhi salam wasn't an imam because Musa alayhi salam already was one. So there was no need for him to be one. It's not that Harun wasn't worthy enough or didn't deserve the role of an imam. It's simply that his brother already was an imam. It's as simple as that. He lived during the lifetime of his brother and passed away before him. Yes, when Nabi Musa alayhi salam went to the mount, Harun alayhi salam did become the Waliul Amr, but he wasn't an imam. So once again, the question is built upon this idea that imamah in itself is better than prophethood, which is wrong. What is correct to say is that firstly, imamah has certain conditions and roles that don't apply for prophethood. Secondly, what is known among our beliefs is that the imams of the Ahlul Bayt specifically, not all the imams, meaning just the 12 imams who succeeded the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Imam Ali to Imam al-Mahdi alayhimus salam, they're the ones who are better than all the prophets except for Rasulullah. This is the most famous view, and Sheikh al-Saduq confirms this in his Kitab al-I'tiqadat, page 286, where he says, it is necessary to believe that Allah, the Mighty and Glorious, did not create any created thing more excellent than Muhammad and the Imams, peace be upon them, that they were the most loved of creatures in the eyes of Allah, and the most noble and the foremost among them on account of their acceptance of Him as their Lord. When Allah took the pledge or mithaq of the prophets and required them to bear witness of themselves saying, am I not your Lord? And they said, yes, verily. When we say that the 12 Imams are better than the Prophet, it's not because they are Imams, no. It's because each one of them were stronger when it came to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and had more taqwa. The Quran says in Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, verse 13, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. O people, we created you from a single man and a single woman and made you into races and tribes so that you should recognize one another. In God's eyes, the most honored of you are the ones most mindful of Him, or the one who has more taqwa. God is all-knowing, all-aware. We believe that the 12 Imams alayhimussalam had more taqwa than the prophets, other than Rasulullah, of course. So, for example, when I say that Imam Ali alayhi salam was better than the prophets, it's not because he was an Imam. Rather, it was because he was Ali bin Abi Talib, simply put. And the same can be said for the rest of the Imams, peace be upon them all. However, after hearing all of this, being the Quran enthusiast that you are, you remember the verses of Surah Al-An'am that say, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ كُلًّا هَدَيْنَا وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ وَأَيُّوبَ وَيُوسُفَ وَمُوسَى وَهَارُونَ وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ وزكريا ويحيى وعيسى وإلياس كل من الصالحين وإسماعيل واليسع ويونس ولوطا وكلا فضلنا على العالمين. This verse is simply mentioning the names of some of the prophets, and at the end it says, and every one of them we favored over all communities. So you ask yourself, aren't these verses saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored the prophets specifically over everyone? So how can we say then that the 12 Imams are better than them? The answer is very simple. These prophets were the best of their times, but later, when the Prophet and the Imams of Ali Muhammad ﷺ came, they became the best. Indeed, we read in Majma' al-Bayan, volume 4, page 79, when it explains the verse, فَضَّلْنَا عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ أَيْ عَالَمِ زَمَانِهِ. We favored them over the worlds, meaning the world of their time. And for the Sunnis who are watching this, we read in Tafsir al-Tabari, volume 9, page 385, وَفَضَّلْنَا جَمِيعَهُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ يعني على عالم أزمانهم. We have favored them all over the worlds means over the world of their times. And this isn't surprising. We read the exact same thing in the Quran when it comes for women. We believe that Sayyidah Khadija and Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam respectively became the best of all women, but the Quran says in Surah Al Imran, verse 42, وَإِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَاكِ وَطَهَّرَكِ وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And as the angel said, O Maryam, surely Allah has elected you and purified you and has elected you over the woman of the worlds. It's the same exact explanation. If we read Majma' al-Bayan, volume 2, page 235, it says, وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ أي على نساء عالم زمانك لأن فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليها وعلى أبيها وبعلها وبنيها سيدة نساء العالمين. When explaining the verse, and he has chosen you over the woman of the worlds, this means over the woman of your time, because Fatima, the daughter of the Messenger of Allah, may Allah bless her and her father and her husband and her children, she is the mistress of the woman of the worlds. Sunni Tafasir say the same thing, but I'll just quote one of them, that being again Tafsir al-Tabari, who says in his book, volume 5, page 393, وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ يعني اختارك على نساء العالمين في زمانك بطاعتك إياه ففضلك عليهم. And he has chosen you over the woman of the worlds. This means that he selected you among the women of the worlds in your time by virtue of your obedience to him, favoring you over them. We read the exact same thing in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 122. يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين. O children of Israel, remember my favor which I have bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you over the worlds. But obviously, all Muslims agree that the Islamic Ummah is better than the Banu Israel. So, people, especially Sunnis, shouldn't be surprised when we say that we believe the 12 Imams are better than the Prophets, excluding Rasulullah. As in, what is so inconceivable about believing that a non-prophet can be better than a prophet? Is it because non-prophets can't communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or receive wahi? Did Allah not communicate with the companion of Musa where he said, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. Then they came upon a servant of our servants whom we had given mercy from us and whom we had taught knowledge from our own. Moses ﷺ said to him, may I follow you so that you may teach me some of the prudence you were taught. And later he goes on and says, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي, and I never did it out of my own accord. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also not communicate with Dhul Qarnayn where he said, حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا. Until when he had reached the settling of the sun, he found it sitting in a murky spring and found the people in its vicinity. We said, O Dhul Qarnayn, you may either punish or else treat them kindly. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also not communicate with the mother of Nabi Musa alayhi salam where he said, إِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ مَا يُوحَىٰ أَنْ اقْذِفِيهِ فِي التَّابُوتِ فَاقْذِفِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ فَيُلْقِهِ الْيَمُّ بِالسَّاحِلِ يَأْخُذْهُ عَدُوٌّ لِي وَعَدُوٌّ لَهُ وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَىٰ عَيْنِي. and we revealed to your mother what was revealed, throw him in the coffer, then throw him into the waters, so that the waters will cast it onto the bank where an enemy of mine and an enemy of his will pick him up. For I bestowed upon you love from me, and so that you may be model before my eye. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also not communicate with the mother of Nabi Isa, Sayyidah Maryam alayhi salam, as we have seen before? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even communicated with the bees. We read in the Quran, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا وَمِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ. And your Lord revealed to the bee, take for yourself homes of the mountains and of the trees and of whatever they trellis. Billahi alaykum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can communicate with insects, but he can't communicate with the Imams? We have yet to see one valid argument as to why the Imams can't communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or have a special rank in his eyes, even more as to why it's impossible for them or any non-prophet to be better than a prophet. In fact, we have many narrations that show that the Imams can and are in fact better than them. Yaqut al-Hamawi records in Mu'jam al-Udaba, Volume 2, page 321, from the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, who said, whoever wishes to see Adam in his knowledge, Nuh in his determination, Ibrahim in his morals, Musa in his sublimity, Isa in his devotion, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih in his patience and guidance, then he should look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. Will people accept this narration, or will they deem it as ghulu? But this isn't the only one. We also read in Kitab al-Fitan, Volume 1, page 256, Hadith number 1027. Yahya narrated from As-Sari bin Yahya from Ibn Sirin. He was asked, is al-Mahdi, meaning Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, better or Abu Bakr and Umar? He said, he is better than both of them, and he will be equal to a prophet. And for one final proof, we also read in Al-Mustadrak ala Sahihain, Volume 4, page 188, and the hadith is sahih. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alih said, indeed, Allah has servants who are not prophets or martyrs, yet the prophets and martyrs will be jealous of them on the day of resurrection due to their closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their positions with him. An Arab man then knelt on his knees and said, O Messenger of Allah, describe them to us and make them clear for us. He replied, they are a people amongst the most noble of people, from diverse tribes, sincere in their loyalty to Allah and affectionate towards him. Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, will grant them pulpits of light in the day of resurrection that will scare people, but they will not fear anyone. They are the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those upon whom there is no fear, nor do they grieve. But whatever the case may be, once we have accepted the fact that it's possible for a non-prophet to have a higher rank than a prophet, does this mean we necessarily have to believe in this? Or that we have to spend maybe 24/7 trying to prove it? Absolutely not. Sheikh al-Ta'ifa at-Tusi radiallahu anhu says in his Kitab al-Rasail, page 328. The question says, with regard to what was said about the superiority of the arch-prophets, meaning the Ulul Azm, from the messengers and our Imams, peace be upon them altogether, I have found that the scholars have differed with regard to that. He answers, there is a difference of opinion in this matter amongst our scholars. There are some who hold the view that the Imams are greater than all the prophets, peace be upon them, and there are those who hold the view that the arch-prophets are greater than them, and some who hold the view that they, the Imams, are greater than them. The narrations have differed with regard to this, and the aql, or the intellect, does not indicate to anything in this matter, so we should be neutral with regard to this and say that any of these beliefs could be the truth. So, the belief that imama is higher than nubuwa, or that nubuwa is higher than imama, is not an asl of the religion, meaning that if you believe imams are better than prophets, or prophets are better than imams, just because of their ranks, it doesn't affect your religion, nor does it make you leave the fold of Shi'ism. Many opinions are accepted and valid, not all scholars have the exact same views, and one shouldn't make this issue the central part of their life when discussing with other people, as in there are topics that are far more important to discuss. And with this, we end this discussion. I would like to thank Hassan al-Bawi, Ibn al-Hassan, Saber, Muhaqqaq, and Fuad for their help in this small investigation. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.